Hello, I'm Stan Schedeker, owner of Adrenaline High and founder of Destination Delmarva, and we're going to do a segment of for Pack 14, and it's going to be on fly fishing and kayak fishing here on the Eastern Shore. And we're going to be introducing and talking to Tommy Burdett. Tommy, how did you get started fishing?
Well, in 1998 I had a stroke, a mild stroke, and took a leave of absence from work. And according to my doctor and my family, they wanted me to do something that was relaxing. So, to my surprise, they purchased me a fishing rod. Well, the first time I cast a fishing rod, it just spun right out in a big old bird's nest. And I said, yeah, this is going to be relaxing. So about 2 hours later, I finally figured out how to use the thing. Then, so down the line, my wife and I and family were on vacation in New York in the Catskill Mountains, and I saw these guys fly fishing. I said, wow, that looks really, really nice. And I said to myself, well, that's something I'd like to learn. And eventually, once again, my family made a present at Christmas of a fly rod.
Since you started fishing in 1998, what have you been doing with it?
Well, I started bass fishing, spin fishing into local ponds here on the Eastern Shore. Of course, me being a native of the Eastern Shore, born and raised in Salisbury. I got pretty proficient, achieved quite a few awards. In 2001, I did catch the largest largemouth bass in the state of Maryland, 10 pounds, on a fly rod. So then I started exclusively using a fly rod. And then as time went on, I thought, well, this would be a really neat way to have a living. In 2006, I was laid off my job of 28 years, and I decided what I was going to do is try to get a job teaching people how to fly fish. So I ended up at Nemacolin Woodlands Resort in southwestern Pennsylvania as a fly fishing guide and an instructor at an Orvis shop. And from there, being that it was a seasonal thing, a Wisp Resort was only about 10 miles from my house, which is in Deep Creek Lake, Maryland. I had a summer home there, and I went by there and asked them if they needed any help. I'd be available. Don't turn down any trips. I just lived 8 miles away, so they brought me in for an interview and said, would you like to come on board full time? So I said, sure, why not? So I started with Wisp Resort in 2008 as a fly fishing guide and instructor at an Orvis endorsed shop there.
After having a successful experience fly fishing and being an Orvis guide on the Western Shore, what brings you back to the Eastern Shore?
Well, the main thing was my family. I have my wife and my youngest son, who's 9 years old. I have 7 children, and while I was out west, I only came home once every 3 or 4 months for 10 to 12 to 15 days. And after 3 years, that kind of got a little old, and I missed my family, so I decided to come back to the Eastern Shore, realizing that the Eastern Shore has many, many opportunities for fishing: ponds, lakes, rivers, the ocean, as opposed to just straight-up trout fishing out west.
How did you hook up with Adrenaline High?
Well, my son Mike was having a conversation with Stan, talking about his business and how he'd been around for a few years and was thinking about starting a fishing division. Well, my son had said to him that my dad is a Orvis-endorsed fly fishing guide. Maybe you guys could get together. And we had a couple conversations, and we decided that we were going to partner up and start a fishing division for Adrenaline High.
Tommy, what do you think about the Destination Delmarva concept?
Well, I think Destination Delmarva is just very, very innovative. It's a great idea. It's taking a bunch of people and networking them together to increase tourism and staycations here on the Eastern Shore of Maryland. There's hundreds and hundreds of things to do that people really don't realize other than just going to the beach. We have kayaking, we have bicycling, we have hiking, bird watching, winery tours. Now, the vision of Destination Delmarva is most people won't drive 2 hours to spend 1 hour. For example, like the Ward Museum. It's a beautiful place, one of the best in the world, but you can see it in an hour or two. What we're trying to do is combine several other things. Birding. There's history galore on the Eastern Shore. You can spend months down here looking at all the different things, the historical value, museums. And if you combine, what we're trying to do is get folks to come down to the Eastern Shore, combine these trips, biking and hiking and birding and fishing, with going out with some of the to some of the restaurants that we're partnered up with, You have the corn maze. There's just hundreds of things to do here, and the vision is to get people to come down and spend a couple days and do all these activities.
Tommy, that's a pretty interesting looking rig you have there. What's the purpose of that?
Well, these are the kayaks that we purchased. They're Jackson kayaks. They're #1 right now, and this model is called the Coosa. What it's designed to do is to fly fish off of this. You can sit in a chair, which is about 6 to 8 inches off the deck, and also it's an adjustable chair that you can sit 12 to 14 inches off the deck. Now, the most exciting thing is you can stand up on these, and they're very, very stable. So if you're a beginner or if you're an expert, these are probably the best boats out there on the market to do the fly fishing out of or fishing out of. We're fully equipped. We have all the rods, all the equipment that's necessary to learn how to fly fish or spin fish out of these kayaks.
Tommy, we've heard a lot about fishing, but why don't you start showing us some of your stuff?
Okay, that sounds good, Stan. But first, just let me give you a quick explanation. Most people ask, what's the difference between a fly rod and a spin rod? It's real simple. A spinning rod that most of us are used to is a very light line with a heavy object on the end of it. And what you're doing is you're rearing back and you're throwing that thing as hard as you can, and that lure or the bait will pull the line off the reel out into the water. The difference between a fly rod is you have a very heavy line on the reel with an extremely light line at the end. And what you're doing is you're taking that line and pushing that fly out towards the water. So let me just show you real quick how that works. What you do is you come down here, and of course everybody's, if you've seen a river runs through it, you know, they were taught 10 and 2. So what that means is you come back to 2 o'clock, stop at 10 o'clock, and see how you get that loop that unfolds. 2 o'clock, 10 o'clock. Now what most people are familiar with is a lot of folks that are fly fishing started out, they saw a river run through it. Like myself, I said, wow, that's really cool. Let's try this. And of course, if you remember, the dad was telling them the theory is to stop at 10 and 2. What that does is load up the rod and the line. As so, 2 o'clock, 10 o'clock. See how the line just folds right out. Turns into like a little loop, lays the fly on the water. 10 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 10 o'clock. And you can even do it left-handed. I teach a lot of left-handed, reason being, there's a lot of golfers out there. A lot of golfers, they don't want to ruin their swing. So what I do is if they're right-handed, I'll teach them left-handed because I don't want to ruin their golf swing. I've had people call me up and say, hey man, you've ruined my golf swing. So I bring them back and I teach them how to do it left-handed. Actually, it's simpler left-handed. You don't have any muscle memory. Then lay it down. Come on back. Stop. Stop. Lay it down. Look at that. 2 o'clock, 10 o'clock. Now do it on your own. Perfect. Look at your line. Watch it go back. See how it forms that loop? Stop when it comes forward. Lay it down. Form that loop. Come forward. Usually it's about a 1,000 count. Watch. 1,001. I'll try that. Be real gentle. There you go. A little back. See that wrist? Keep the wrist tight. Try to keep it as tight as you can. Don't break your wrist. See the difference? Watch your line. 1,001. There you go. Down here on the eastern shore, what's really unique is there's so many opportunities to catch fish that some people have to use 2 rods because there's so many fish out there. So what they do is you do this. And we're looking forward to the opportunity of teaching people and taking the experienced person out fly fishing on the eastern shore of Maryland. There's more than just trout. There's much to explore on the eastern shore.